So for the Avengers, Iron Man is going to start the turn. He spends 2 tokens to move 7 inches away from Colossus. And essentially, he's going to try his micro missiles again. Same thing he tried last turn that failed horribly. It has the homing, but in this case there is direct line of sight. Captain America is 1 inch away, so any sort of explosiveness isn't going to affect anything. He's going to roll 3 dice, and because Captain America's attack is 7, Cyclops will spend 1 token to be in an evasive maneuver to put his 17 defense up to 19. So with that, Iron Man needs a 13 to exceed that and to get a 20. And so let's see, he's going to overload and spend 1 extra die, or one extra token for 1 extra die. So there are no doubles, but we end up having a 17 rolled on 3 dice, so that does hit. Now, what that means is the damage would normally be 2, but it's actually reduced to 1 because Colossus has resistance to flame attacks. Now, unfortunately, that does put Colossus, even with that 1 attack, that 1 damage on his endurance, into what they call the red zone. Now, when a model goes into the red zone, not only do their attributes get worse, in this case, Colossus now goes from a -1 defense, physical defense, to a -2, but he also loses 1 power token as well, and he has to roll to see whether he's knocked out. So, because this is the first time happening within the game, I'll just consult the rulebook, make sure I'm doing it exactly right, and we'll go for the roll, and I'll be right back. So it is a fairly simple roll to determine whether you're knocked out. It's just as I've done before for the characters that were in the pale zone at the end of the round. Unfortunately, when you go into the red for Colossus, you have to test it immediately. And so Colossus has a very good stamina of 11, so he needs 11 or less. So he doesn't want to roll any 8s or roll well. So he rolls a 12. So that means that Colossus is knocked out. When you're a character that's knocked out may not use or benefit from any skills on his character card except for those that modify his size. In addition, he loses all of his power counters that he currently has and recovers them at a reduced rate as described below. In addition to the knocked down effect, because he's actually knocked down, a character that is knocked out has all of their defense values reduced by a further -3 and may not benefit from defensive improvements. So, Colossus, he hasn't gone this turn, and so when a character is knocked out, they may still be activated, but they must first pass a stamina roll before they can do anything at all. So, when it is, his turn, we can see whether or not he can recover from it this turn. And so he still does have a chance. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a token as we go into the next activation next to Colossus, just to show that he is knocked out at this point. Now, Colossus isn't out of the game, like he still is in the red zone and has 3 more bars left, but this doesn't spell well for him at this point. Okay. So now we'll go to X-Men next, and I'm just going to determine who's going next. Now fortunately, because this has happened in the very beginning of the round, I could choose to try to recover Colossus by choosing him next. Now, I thought about it because I could just use Cyclops to try to put some damage on one of the other two, and then use his Master Technician to then use Colossus next. But honestly, if I was really playing X-Men now, I would want to get Colossus on his feet, because he has such a bad chance with defensive modifiers to just get knocked out of the game completely now, that he is going to try to make his stamina roll. He has such a good stamina that there's a really good chance that this is just something that kind of set him down, and he's just going to stand right back up and recover. And so that's what we're going to try to do, is we're going to try to recover Colossus immediately as the X-Men player. Colossus stamina is 11, and actually, I just realized something. Rather than try to manufacture this differently since this just happened, I just realized that I rolled, because I left my dice there in 11, and Colossus' stamina is 11, and you need an 11 or less when rolling for an attribute roll. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pretend that didn't happen at all. Because really, despite the fact that Colossus went into the red zone and that nothing changes that, he actually didn't get knocked out. I was one off in my math, and just realizing that the attribute roll, you do have to be at 11 or less. So I apologize. Maybe those of you might just find the knockdown information that was shared informative for when it does potentially happen, or the knocked out. But I made a mistake there, and I'm going to recover that. I'm going to actually correct that right now while I can. Colossus still has all of his tokens except for the one he used to spend on his energy defense. And we're going to actually say that it is Colossus' turn, despite the fact that he's in the red zone. Now, he is at 1 power less, because he is in the red zone and at -2 defense, which shouldn't affect him in an attacking mode. So what Colossus is going to do is he's going to move up, and he's going to attack. Let's see. He's going to move up to just spend 1 token to try to attack Captain America. So that actually conserves a little bit of his tokens by moving less. And he's going to do 2 attacks, or potentially 2, of his Osmium Punch. Now, Captain America can take 1 token to increase his, to go into a combat stance, to move up his physical defense to 19. And so the attack by Colossus is 6, and he's trying to hit a 20. So essentially, he needs a 14. Now, that will be very difficult on 2 dice. So rather than doing 2 attacks, he's just going to concentrate and do 1, rolling 3 dice. And that leaves 1 additional token if he did want to change his defense from energy to physical or something like that. Probably wouldn't, because Iron Man's probably going to use an energy attack. Okay. So, again, we said it's going to be an attack of 6, trying to hit 19, needing a 20, so 14 on 3 dice. So he gets it exactly, and in this, the 14 was to exceed what he needed, and so he would hit Captain America in this case, and so that would be a damage value of 2. Captain America would still be in the pale zone, but getting closer to the red, so he does get socked by Colossus there. I'm sure that actually felt good. Okay, and so next we will see what Captain America does in retaliation. So Captain America is going to try a couple of things here. First, he's going to try to do his meteor kick at Colossus, and he's going to overload it. Now this is his green attack. It only does 1 damage. It's fairly simple, but he's going to try to he's going to spend 2 tokens on it, and he's going to overload it. Captain America's attack is 7. He needs normally to hit Colossus a 20, but because Colossus is in the red zone, his defense is -2, so he needs an 18. So essentially, in order to get a 19 from Captain America's 7, he needs a 12 or better on 3 dice. Actually, I think I got that wrong. In order to get better than an 18 to get to a 19, yeah, it's 12 or better. Okay, so 3 dice, 12 or better. So he actually missed, even though he overloaded it with his kick. Now the next thing he's going to do is he's going to spend 2 tokens to move a distance of 7 inches from Colossus. Put it there. And after doing that, he's going to do his once per round shield bounce, where he throws his shield and he's going to overload it. That will leave Captain America with 1 token later to do a defensive improvement if he needs to. Now in this case, it's the same thing. He needs the 12 in order to, because it's the same kind of attack. 3 dice, he's overloading it. So he gets a 12, which is what he needs to exceed it by 1, and there are no criticals, and so that is actually 2 damage. Now this is a blunt force type of damage, and there is no immunity or resistance by Colossus to this, and so that will put Colossus 2 further into the red zone, but not down and out by any means yet. He's still up and standing. Okay, so now we'll see how Cyclops is going to react to this to end round 5. So in running from Colossus in the direction he did towards Iron Man, one of the things he did do, unwittingly to the game, sort of organizer here, is he put himself in a good shot for Cyclops' once per round attack of Optic Devastation, which has an explosive effect of 3 inches around him. Now, I know it's sometimes hard to see on the camera, but it is actually outside of range of Colossus, but it's clearly within for Iron Man. And also Cyclops himself, clearly not within. And so it'll only be Iron Man that would be affected. Now, Captain America really only has 1 more token left, and he is going to actually use it to increase his energy defense to 17. Cyclops' attack is 7 currently, and so he would need an 11 to hit him. He is going to spend an extra token, which would put him at 4 tokens for this attack, which has a normal damage of 3. So essentially he's going to need, in this case, 7 hitting better than a 17, so an 18 will end up being 11 or better on 3 dice. So he gets a 13, so this does hit Captain America. Captain America doesn't have any ability to do his shield block because he's already used it, or he's actually out of tokens, is what it really comes down to for this round. And so first we'll resolve Captain America, and then we'll look at the explosive effect that happens on Iron Man. So there were no criticals, and so it is straight 3 damage for the initial hit. And the explosive effect has a different mechanic. We'll go into that for Iron Man in a second. And so 3 damage on Captain America puts him actually not just on the edge, but into the red zone. So he has to immediately test to be knocked out. And he loses 1 power immediately because he's in the red zone. So Captain America's stamina is 9. And so he gets 2 rolls of 9 or less. and he makes a 9 on the first one. So he's not knocked out, despite the fact that he's in the red zone. But those folks in the red zone, like in the pale, will have to test each at the end of each round. Now, the Iron Man, for Iron Man, this is explosive. It is the damage, potentially the 3, but when the attack successfully hits, the affects an area with a radius on the target. You rolled a hit for each model affected, and so it does still have to hit Iron Man. Now, Iron Man can, with this attack, take a defensive posture, which he will do. That will raise for his energy defense. He'll spend a token, and that will raise his energy defense from 16 to 18. So it's still the same kind of attack. It's essentially 7, but now it needs to hit a 19. So he's going to need a 12 or higher. Cyclops could choose to overload this. You have to pay each time. It's not just a one time. And so he is actually going to spend another token to try to overload this and ensure that it hits Iron Man. So that's 12 or better on 3 dice. So it's a 9. So it actually ends up missing Iron Man. He was able to avoid the secondary effect, but still quite effective on Captain America by putting him into the red zone. Now, because he chose to overload that was essentially a second attack he could have done. It was just a bad die roll again. But Cyclops actually has 1 token left and can't really do anything with it. One thing... Yeah, they really can't do anything with it. So, okay, so that is the end of round 5. We're going into the last round. In the next round, we're going to want to see whether somebody can get taken out in this, and particularly a VP. And those are the 2 that are the most damaged currently anyway, are the VP. So whoever can get Captain America or Colossus out of the game actually has a chance of being the one to be the winning team in this scenario. Okay, be back in round 6, the last round.